Hello, it's another Wednesday, another News Extra day. Tonight, as usual, it's really extra as we bring to you stories with that extra touch. The president is gone to South Africa to look out for the interest of Nigerians living there. We'll tell you about that. And earlier today, the Federal Executive Council met, and as usual, some parts of the country are going to receive its decision with smiles. And yesterday, Nigeria clocked 59. Wow, wow, wow. How exciting. We are still on the celebrations home and abroad, so don't miss it. That's not all. The National Assembly election tribunals and INEC have been busy. All the updates are here with me. And our usual stories from the business world, empowerment, development and health are not left out. And of course, there is sports and an update of Thursday's weather prospects, just in case you need to keep an umbrella or raincoat nearby. That's it on the rundown of what is in store for you. So let's get on with it as the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Umar Buba and this is News Extra. The President Muhammadu Buhari has left Abuja for the Republic of South Africa to honor an invitation by President Cyril Ramaphosa ahead of their high talks on the welfare of Nigerians. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president was seen off at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, by Minister of the FCT, Mohammed Musa Bello, Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, Permanent Secretary of the State House, Jalal Arabi, and other senior government officials. President Buhari is visiting South Africa against the backdrop of the recent xenophobic attacks, the evacuation of hundreds of Nigerians, as well as the exchange of visits by special envoys of the two countries. While in Pretoria, the Nigerian leader will hold a town hall meeting with Nigerians living in the country, with a view to sharing in their experiences and reassuring them of his administration's commitment to working for the protection of their lives and property, as well as promoting peaceful coexistence. President Buhari and his host will preside over the South Africa-Nigeria Binational Commission and also participate at a South Africa-Nigeria Business Forum. The president, accompanied by the governors of Kano, Plateau and Ebonyi states, as well as several ministers, is expected back on Friday. Moving on, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyeama, and his South African counterpart, Naledi Pandor, have resolved to increase tempo in deepening bilateral relations between the two countries. For them, this is a sure way of reassuring rapid growth and development of the two countries. This is the highlight of the ministerial meeting of the 9th session of the Bilateral Commission between Nigeria and South Africa, currently taking place in Johannesburg. Aliu Kabir tells us more.
The ministerial meeting of the 9th session of the Binational Commission between Nigeria and the Republic of South Africa was a prelude to the deliberations expected to take place on Thursday, October 3rd, 2019, between Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari and his counterpart of the Republic of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. The ministerial meeting, which was co-chaired by Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyeama, and that of the Republic of South Africa, Naledi Pandor, is coming after 6 years, and it is against the backdrop of recent xenophobic attacks on Nigerians and other foreign nationals in South Africa. But beyond the issue of xenophobia, the meeting, according to the ministers, was aimed to address all areas of development such as trade, diplomatic relations, science and technology, and visa policy, among others.
A very important development was the agreement immediately to set up an early warning system, which will mean the regular meeting of the Nigerian Embassy, High Commission here, Consulate, with the South African side. So regularly, and sharing information, and also with the Nigerian Union of South Africa. So that way, if there any sort of looming crisis, the highest level of the government of South Africa will be able to get that information, share it with the Nigerians, and you can take preventive measures early. So that's a very important agreement. And then also in other areas, immigration, visas for officials, defense cooperation.
I wish, Honourable Minister, at the outset to thank you for the assistance you gave to us during the recent outbreak of violence against some foreign nationals in our country and many of our own citizens. We have expressed regret at these terrible events on several occasions.
Some of the participants shared their experiences.
At the end of the day, we have been able to understand ourselves in a very much better diplomatic position. And we have been able to show the world that as two big brothers in Africa, we are in a position to resolve our own issues without getting to get anybody to do that for us.
Both sides have acknowledged the trouble of xenophobic and promised to make amends. It will be reflected in the communique that will come out tomorrow from the head of states.
But more importantly, we've looked at critical areas of doing business in Nigeria, trying to see how can we improve on our trade relations.
Strategies have been looked at on how these two countries can further come together with those objectives, not just for the two countries, but for the betterment and development of Africa and its people in general.
This is the first time the meeting of the Binational Commission is elevated to the level of heads of state, with optimism of promoting unity and development for the mutual benefit of the two countries. In Johannesburg, South Africa, Aliu Kabir, NTA.
And the Federal Executive Council this Wednesday approved a total of 15.77 billion naira augmentation on the rate of some existing road projects. The two affected are the Suleja-Minna Lambata Road and Ibadan-Lagere-Lesha bypass. State House correspondent Gideon Ifadi reports.
Before departing for South Africa for a 3-day official visit to that country, President Muhammadu Buhari presided over the Federal Executive Council meeting where approvals were given for the augmentation on some road contracts. After about 3.5 hours of deliberation, Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, walked in with Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, for a press briefing on the issues of the day.
Iremo Enwa Ilesha bypass, I think is seeking for an augmentation from 6.7 billion naira to 9.8 billion naira. And the second one is an approval for the augmentation again of the contract for the utilization of the Suleja Lambata Minna Road Phase 2. Here again, we're seeking the augmentation. We sought augmentation and got approval from 23.6 billion to 36.2 billion.
It's important to also emphasize that all of these are in keeping first with the desire and determination to focus on projects that can be completed rather than just starting new projects. They are also consistent with the realities of economic rates, market price indices for road inputs like cement, iron rod, diesel, petrol, and lubricants, and the changes that have taken place on the national economic stage with regard to those prices.
Minister Babatunde Fashola was asked on the present position on public-private partnership on road maintenance and construction.
There is no law that prohibits tolling in Nigeria today. We expect to return toll plazas. We have concluded their designs of what they will look like, what material they will be built with, what new considerations must go into them. What we are looking at now and trying to conclude is how the back end runs. And that is important because we want to limit significantly, if not totally eliminate cash at the plazas, while ensuring that electronic devices that are being used do not impede rapid movement.
In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Thank you very much, Jude. Now, it is a matter of worry if someone is rejected by his own brother or sister whom he supported as his own. The story we are about to tell you is actually along that line. South Africa and Nigeria are related in many fronts. For instance, they are of the same race, the beautiful natural black skin. Not only that, they are leading economies of Africa. But is all well between the two African black powers? Well, in this special report, Foreign Desk correspondent Usman Aliu gives us a perspective on xenophobia in South Africa and efforts by the Nigerian government to address the problem.
1994 was a history to reckon with for the Africans. It was the year Nelson Mandela was elected as the first black president in South Africa after gaining her freedom from apartheid. Unfortunately, that same year, 1994, another crisis started dogging the anti-immigrants' violence. The South Africans, not all of them, feel uncomfortable with other Africans for jobs and opportunities. Between 2000 to 2008, the violence against foreigners in South Africa was becoming alarming, claiming 67 lives. The recent upsurge in violence against foreigners in that country spiraled a rallying cry, especially in Nigeria. Both the government and the people lend their voices loudly to be heard, and it seems the Pretoria government has been spurred to take action and stop the violence once and for all. Nigerian envoy and the South African counterpart exchanged visitation to stop that unruly behavior. And now President Muhammadu Buhari is visiting Cyril Ramaphosa to see what the Pretoria government is doing for the safety, freedom and protection of lawful businesses of Nigerians.
Those incidents do not represent what we stand for as a constitutional democracy in South Africa.
Although some Nigerians in South Africa are returning home, many believed this visit by President Muhammadu Buhari, as well as the engagement of Nigeria and South Africa Binational Commission, will work out solutions to stop the killings, looting of shops and destruction of property of foreigners by what South Africa government referred to criminal behavior of some bad elements. In Abuja, Usman Aliu, NTA News.
And Nigerians, wherever they reside, are contributing positively towards the development of the society. And the Nigerian government says it will continue to give necessary support wherever it is needed. This was at the 2019 Independence Day Gala Night held at the State House Conference Center. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo attended the dinner and expressed satisfaction with the achievements of Nigerians in all spheres of life.
The night climaxed a week-long activities marking Nigeria's 59th Independence Day anniversary. In the views of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, the nation may not be like the advanced countries yet, but the nation is certainly on the right track and will soon arrive at the desired destination.
Today is a day that we celebrate our nation and its great people. We celebrate the sterling labors of our heroes past, the sacrifices of so many that have enabled us to be this great nation that we are. We recognize that we're here because so many paid the price, and that we're going forward because many are still making the sacrifice. But this evening, I also want to share with you something lighter, but as important. One of the unique attributes of the Nigerian person, I've described it as the Nigerian swag. That uniquely confident way that makes us stand out everywhere,
and in everything that we do.
Benedict Orama speaks on a topic that challenged the assumptions and opportunities around Nigeria's economic growth and sustainable development.
The optimal industrialization strategy for Nigeria should be one that emphasizes labor-intensive industrialization.
As we have set the platform and trajectories for the next level movement that will transform the lives of all Nigerians, we are determined to build on the foundation of change already laid in the last 4 years as we continue to fight against corruption, insecurity, and return our economy on the path of sustainable growth.
It's a night many would have loved to take to the dancing floor for the achievement of the country, but these maidens from Calabar, Cross River State, still the show.
Happy Independence Day! Think Nigeria!
From the State House Conference Center, Jude Onifade, NT News.
Like the Vice President said, Nigerians got swag. Yes, proudly Nigerian. Now, oral histories inspired by fun trips down memory lane is a good way of helping younger Nigerians appreciate the thrills of the first Independence Day celebration. In line with this, Jennifer Igwe visited Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos, where the first Independence Day celebration took place. She also interacted with veterans who shared memories of that era.
There is a reason why the coat of arms sits strategically at this location at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos. Now, this whole area was where the British Union Jack was lowered and the Nigerian green, white, green flag was first hoisted in 1960. The symbolism of the area is the reason why the first National Assembly, where the first session of Nigeria's parliament held, stands by it. Important history, but one that is lost on many today.
I don't really know anything about it. I don't live here, so I live on the mainland.
Okay, so you did the past year, so what do you know about here?
I don't really know much about this place. I only go through this place.
For 69-year-old environment activist Desmond Majekodunmi, who was 10 years old when Nigeria got her independence in 1960, the sight of the TBS alone whips up his sentiment and enthusiasm to share stories from that era laced with nostalgia, almost like a 10-year-old.
And everybody was in such high spirit. And when that Union Jack went down, and then our great green, white, green flag went up, the place exploded with excitement. Even the royal representative couldn't control herself. She was dancing a little bit on her seat along with the rest of us.
The Zinc Majekodunmi adds to narration of his fond memories of Nigeria's independence is infectious. He still recalls the anthem sung in the colonial era, Nigeria's first national anthem and the current one.
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Nigeria, we hail thee, our own their native land.
Many young Nigerians today don't show that level of excitement on the nation's history, national symbols, and even anthem.
My country, how come it's going up?
To serve our father's land with love and strength and faith. One nation in freedom.
Lagos, Jennifer Igwe, NTA News.
Pledge to Nigeria, my country, any day, anytime. Happy Independence Day, Nigerians. Well, Nigeria's 59th independence anniversary in Lome, Togo was not just a celebration of the country's liberation from colonialism, but an exchange of culture and social networking. Do India reports that the event attracted some diplomats who described Nigeria as a force to reckon with in Africa. Let's hear you.
That sets the tune for the evening. And to the reason why they gathered is the celebration of Nigeria's stride through the dark days. Various interest groups, friends of Nigeria, and the diplomatic community all attest to the fact that Nigeria's rich social, cultural, and economic potential is of great value to them.
Nigeria has a very important trade balance with Brazil. We have been a good partner since last century, since independence.
We are part of Africa, we are Africans, we are brothers, and hand in hand we can build our continent and we can develop our future.
And it was always a pleasure to be with your great nation. Best wishes to all the Nigerian nations, to all Niger.
We all hope and work for the brotherhood and peace throughout the region. That's an objective that I think all of us here in Togo have, and I think that's true for all the diplomats across West Africa.
Though the path to total economic recovery may look bleak, but hopes activated with resilience, the Nigerian ambassador to the Republic of Togo says is a sure way to achieving the vision of President Muhammadu Buhari for the desired Nigeria.
Given the challenges of a protracted military rule, multi-ethnic and multi-religious, primordial cleavages, it is worthwhile to celebrate our capacity as a country to pull back from the precipice and to continue to strengthen our unity even in our diversity.
With a long-standing trade and bilateral relationship between Nigeria and Togo, as well as other countries of the world, guests at the event expressed optimism that the country is already on the path to greatness. Doing Dia NT News.
We just got information that President Muhammadu Buhari has arrived Pretoria, South Africa, ahead of high-level talks with President Ramaphosa. Details will come in our subsequent bulletin. And when News Extra returns from this break, you will hear the latest on UK-based firm PNID.
To Adeleke University, a faith-based learning institution located in the serene and historic town of Ede, Osun State, Nigeria, running on the well-thought vision of its founding fathers to improve lives and society. The institution offers affordable and quality education. We are currently offering admission into our faculties of science, engineering, law, and art. We are also offering entry into the Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences and the Faculty of Business and Social Science. Our College of Postgraduate Studies offers you the chance to earn your master's and doctorate's degree in over 30 disciplines. For more inquiries, please visit www.adelekeuniversity.edu.ng. You can also call 0806-820-2021. Adeleke University, education, excellence, character.
She picked the time, he picked the place. Now their eyes meet. But self-doubt stands between them. Can they break the barrier? With the freshness of antibacterial mouthwash formula in our best ever close-up toothpaste. Break the barrier. Move closer with confidence. Close-up deep action for 12 hours of fresh breath.
Indomitables game on Google Play Store. Search the Indomitables on Play Store and download now. Indomie noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
I love the new look of my favorite Nivea black and white deodorant. Same reliable double protection against sweat and against stains. No white marks on black and no yellow stains on my white clothes. Proven 48-hour protection with the new look black and white deodorant from Nivea.
Hey, you! And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. It's in your mind, Abi. The person with them go hail pass. Baba Torosa, Shangalo, Ogalekuva, Mr. Sabi. And you know if we carry last for this one.
A spear into the top corner.
We Sabi say Peking will crawl before in waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No dolly, no. So go for her. Go for football. Go for all Serie A and La Liga matches live. Go for GoTV Max.
When you wake up in the morning before you start your day, breakfast time is Kellogg's time. For work and for play, for a great start to your day, breakfast time is Kellogg's time.
We always start our day with a nourishing Kellogg's breakfast, powered with the goodness of grains and 11 essential vitamins and minerals. So in our family, breakfast time is Kellogg's time.
Breakfast time is Kellogg's time.
Good to have you back on News Extra. Attempts by both private members and government-sponsored bills in the past to review the deep offshore and inland basin production sharing contract are proved abortive, resulting in Nigeria losing 7 trillion naira. And now another attempt by the 9th Senate as it resolved to bring in this long overdue review to fruition and increase Nigeria's revenue by 360 billion naira annually. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
Back from the 59th Independence Anniversary celebration, senators back to the chamber for the first plenary of the week. The first motion on the order paper was the call for the urgent need to block sources of revenue leakages. Timely as it is, Senator Ifeanyi Ubah and 30 other senators were particular about the huge sums of money Nigeria loses from the deep offshore and inland sharing operation contract. The contract, which came into force in 2004, is long overdue for review.
It is adjusted to the extent that the PXC shall be economically beneficial to the federal government of Nigeria in accordance with the provisions of the Act.
If the federal government will be losing billions of dollars, you can imagine what the communities too are losing or are missing.
The aspect of vandalizing our critical assets will also drop significantly.
And contractually, the oil company knows that they are indebted to Nigeria.
It's for us to rise up to the occasion and save this country by getting the relevant revenue and by doing the work that we are supposed to do.
The bill that needs to be amended is coming up for consideration for second reading, and I believe that what we need to do is to give it the most expeditious consideration ever.
The issue of illegal mining in Nigeria once again came up on the floor of the Senate. Senator Sahabi Yahu's motion called on the federal government to check the activities of illegal miners, clean up areas affected and rehabilitate victims of these illegalities in Zamfara State.
Call on the federal government to further clean up the affected areas of the lead poisoning in Zamfara State and the other states that were affected.
One of the most disturbing situations with regard to illegal miners is why you find foreigners in the very heart of our land.
And ensure that we are able to adjust our fiscal regime, our fiscal federalism, in such a way that states will be able to have interest in some of these things in well-defined areas under our concurrent list.
Mr. President, the bulk of the revenue that is supposed to come from this sector is in the hands of few illegal miners.
The legislators have implored security agencies to intensify surveillance and adequately secure lives and property along the Abuja-Lokoja road. Senator Dino Melaye, who moved the motion, described the incidents of kidnapping and killings along that road as increasingly disturbing.
On the 24th again, Mr. President, last week, this gang of armed robbers came there and killed 8 Nigerians, including one assistant superintendent of police who was also commuting on that road.
This might be commuters going from and their relations, and they may not even know what may have happened. They telephone to demand for ransom, and it's not difficult to trace these people using technology.
These security agencies will do something, and maybe we will be a little bit radical. We need to give the security agencies some more funds, but insist on accountability.
5 bills were passed for first reading. This includes 2 educational institution establishment bills, the Food Security Bill and the Communication Tax Bill from the National Assembly. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And it was a historic day at the House of Representatives as the House, in line with its standing rules, inaugurated standing and special committees to facilitate the work of legislation for the 9th Assembly. Lami Ali reports that the event was witnessed by former presiding and principal officers, former clerks, and other invited guests from government organizations.
Standing committees are seen as the engine room of the legislature because it is at the committee level that policy proposals, recommendations and actions are considered for subsequent adoption by Parliament. The Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, while inaugurating the committees, further stressed their essence to the polity and therefore urged stakeholders to extend required cooperation.
In furtherance of our shared objectives of national development, peace, progress, and prosperity for all. This is a time that calls for determined efforts to achieve substantive reform and ensure that our country can overcome its challenges and take advantage of the opportunities that abound for economic advancement and social development. I trust that as you recognize these realities, your efforts will reflect this recognition and be motivated by it.
A former Speaker of the House, Gali Umar Abba, used the occasion to remind the legislators of their responsibilities, especially at this moment of the nation's history.
The very existing laws have either been amended or even repealed, but still the courts are agitated with them. And it is your responsibility to look at these at our laws and with a view to doing this sort of work.
The events featured paper presentations on the significance of the committees to legislative work.
This 9th legislature should not confront anybody. You can get whatever you want through diplomacy. You can get it through give and take. You can get it through mutuality of understanding and the exchange of ideas. There is no need for confrontation.
Critical to the life of a parliament are the documentation, preservation, and dissemination of committee reports. Preservation of these reports is the institutional memory of the parliament.
The committees inaugurated, 109 in number, include 4 special committees. Each committee consists of either 40 or 30 members and is vested with the responsibility of oversighting ministries, departments and agencies of government for checks and balances. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
In another development, the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Kano has upheld the election of Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje during the March 2019 general election. Chairman of the tribunal, Justice Halima Shamaki, said the petition filed by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its governorship candidate Abba Kabir Yusuf was dismissed for lack of merit. Awal Salisu reports.
The People's Democratic Party (PDP) has challenged the victory of Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje in the election, saying its candidate Abba Kabir Yusuf is the winner of the March 2019 polls. The All Progressive Congress (APC) raised a preliminary objection against the petition for lacking in merit. After cross-examination of the witnesses, the tribunal headed by Justice Halima Shamaki said the petitioners did not present any concrete evidence that warrant the nullification of the election results. She said all the evidences presented were not proven and are lacking in merit. Justice Shamaki, after dismissing the case, thanked the parties for their cooperation and support to the tribunal for doing justice to all matters before it.
apart from other technical points on jurisdiction, that even the drafting of the petition was wrong, not in accordance with the law.
Tribunal held that that decision by INEC was in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
We will collect a copy of the judgment, study it, and advise the clients accordingly.
The petitioners, however, have the right to appeal the judgment. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje of Kano State and Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State on the affirmation of their victories in the March 2019 gubernatorial polls by the respective states' governorship election petition tribunals. In a statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President described the verdict of the tribunals as a victory for democracy, commending the people of Kano and Plateau State for maintaining the peace, allowing the due process of law to prevail with the elections and tribunals. Now behind, the President urged the governors to unite their states by focusing more on inclusive and accountable governance and ensuring that all APC programs targeted at improving the welfare of Nigerians are fully implemented. And following the validation of Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje's victory by the Election Petition Tribunal, hundreds of supporters of the All Progressives Congress APC thronged the Kano Government House to celebrate the ruling. They were received on arrival by the State Deputy Governor Nasir Yusuf. Abdullahi Mustafa has the report.
Shortly after delivering judgment at the tribunal in favor of their party and flag bearer, hundreds of APC supporters thronged the Golden Jubilee Monument in front of the Kano Government House to celebrate the victory. They were received by Kano State Deputy Governor Nasir Yusuf Gawuna, who described the ruling as validation of the Kano people's decision during the March governorship elections.
That this is the time that we needed prayers more than any time, because this is the time that we sit down and deliver the promises that we have taken for the people of Kano.
So I think we don't have anything to say rather than to thank God Almighty, because all this success are from Him.
He appealed to the PDP and other political parties to support Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje in building a greater and more prosperous Kano. This was the position of the chairman of the APC and other stalwarts who see the tribunal judgment as an end to all manners of politicking. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Sokoto State Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja has affirmed the victory of Governor Aminu Tambuwal at the 2019 governorship election after dismissing the petition filed by candidate of the APC, Ahmed Aliu. Olabode Arewa reports on the judgment.
Those were supporters of Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal expressing their joy
over the declaration that the incumbent governor was the actual winner of the Sokoto governorship election. In a unanimous judgment, the three-man panel of judges, led by Justice Abbas Bawale, said Ahmed Aliu Sokoto of the All Progressives Congress could not provide conclusive proof that overvoting, exclusion of voters, and other electoral malpractices took place during the said election. The tribunal ruled that the witness statements of the witnesses called by the APC candidates could not prove substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act 2010 by Tambuwal. Ahmed Aliu Sokoto had formulated 6 issues for determination by the tribunal.
This is a journey that started 6 months ago, and today we've seen the fruit of our labor.
There was bound to be a judgment either way. None that is against us does not mean all is lost. If for anything, it's just the challenge of meeting up the time within which to file our own appeal.
The 2019 Sokoto governorship election of 9th of March 2019 was declared inconclusive by INEC.
A rerun election was organized on the 23rd of March 2019, which returned Governor Tambuwal for a second term. In Abuja, Olaboderewa, NTA News.
And in the meantime, the People's Democratic Party has congratulated Sokoto State Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal for his victory at the governorship election petition tribunal, which upheld his election. A statement from the party's National Publicity Secretary, Kola Olagbodiyan, describes the verdict as victory for democracy and the will of the people, as expressed in the March 23 governorship election. The PDP, however, rejects the judgment of the governorship election tribunal in Kano and Plateau states. It urges its members and supporters not to lose hope, adding that justice will surely prevail at the end of the day. The Independent National Electoral Commission has reacted to the disqualification of the Social Democratic Party's candidate Natasha Akpoti in the November 16 governorship election in Kogi State, saying the commission acted within the ambit of the law. Timothy Yusuf reports that the Social Democratic Party is set to challenge its candidate's disqualification in court. That's the beauty of democracy. Here is his report.
Ahead of the November 16 governorship election in Kogi State, the Independent National Electoral Commission had disqualified the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Natasha Akpoti, on the grounds that she fielded an underage running mate. This development, the leadership of the party, at a media briefing in Abuja, said is unacceptable.
This move of INEC will be resisted by the SDP in the law court. The deputy governorship candidate is not a product of the party's primary, but a nomination of the governorship candidate, and she has the prerogative to change or withdraw this candidate.
INEC, in a swift reaction through its National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, explained that the Commission acted in compliance with the Electoral Act.
The candidate of the Social Democratic Party has gone to court. And the Independent National Electoral Commission has been served with her court processes. And she went to court on the 25th day of September 2019. And they believe that they have a constitutional grievance. It is incumbent on them to allow the judicial process to run its course.
The National Commissioner reassured that INEC will continue to strive towards the improvement of electoral process in the country. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
In another development, the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, GIABA, has advocated legal frameworks to combat money laundering and terrorism financing in the sub-region. The Director General of GIABA, Kimelabalo Abba, made the advocacy at a World Press Conference in Dakar, the capital of Senegal. Dele Atumbi reports.
Laundering and terrorism financing are transnational crimes that take their toll on national economy and are serious threat to national security. The recognition of these threats and the need to combat them headlong made the authority of heads of state and government of the Economic Community of West African States to establish the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa in the year 2000. At inception, GIABA has the mission to fight money laundering, but with the increase in the activities of terrorists, made ECOWAS to add combating terrorist financing to its mission in 2007. The Director General of GIABA, Kilemabalo Haba, identified the feats of the sub-regional organ and the challenges. He said the legal frameworks in various countries towards curtailing money laundering must be in line with international standard and the recommendations of Financial Action Task Force, FATF. GIABA was of the opinion that the sources of financing terrorism must be blocked to reduce the activities of terrorists all over the world. He promised that GIABA, as an organ of the Economic Community of West African States, will continue to build the capacity of member states to reduce money laundering. GIABA also identified public corruption as a serious source of money laundering in the sub-region. GIABA, which has 2 countries in addition to the 15 member states of ECOWAS, also has dual status of being sub-regional organ and the Financial Action Task Force without an enforcement power. From Dakar, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Well, thank you very much, Dele Atumbi, for that. And 700 vulnerable households in 3 local government areas are benefiting in the pilot phase of the training launched by the federal government. Where, you may ask, but that you would get after the break. Please stay.
Start your day easier and happier with LG Inverter. Gain peace of mind with an efficient laundry cycle. Feel cooler air even at midday without any worries. Enjoy mealtime with food kept fresh all day long. The LG Inverter enriches your everyday life. Better inverter, LG Inverter.
Wakis don't land with Maggie Mega Millions promo. Every week, lucky winners go fit win 1 million naira each inside this promo, plus other correct instant prizes them. Oh yeah, carry 100 Maggi Star Rapper, go to select places, and then go knock your scratch card where you go take win bracket the credits and cool cash instant. Make una bring plenty Maggi Star Rapper, as na the person will bring Maggi Rapper plenty pass last. Go win this 1 million naira. This now from the 1st of October, go reach 31st of October 2019. Terms and conditions they shall. With Maggi, cook the difference.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, what's the cause of celebration?
You want to say your eyes is the pain, you know, see, I did with my baby car. See, make I tell you, this car that I'm standing in is my car. And if you want win your home, make it stop to the carry your car, I can't find me every time. Just go buy one promo bag of Dangote cement. There's a scratch card that's inside. If you don't carry that scratch card, you go scratch that scratch card. Anything where you see them, and you go one. Yeah, if you see television there, you go one arm. If you see car, you go one arm. If you see Okada, make I surprise you. You get one woman where they sell more for Oshogbo. She want a car. Really? People want man where they Henugu, where be bricklayer. He want a car. Now get one businessman where they for Kano. He want a car. Oh yeah, so go buy your home, make you want a car.
See posters and newspapers for details. Promo runs from the 1st of July to the 30th of September 2019.
Hey you! And are you how they talk to? Sabi you now. It's in day your mind, Abi. The person with them go help us. Baba Torosa, Shangalo, Ogalekuva, Mr. Sabi. And you know if you carry last for this one.
A spear into the top corner.
We Sabi say Peking will crawl before in waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No dolly, no. So go for her. Go for football.
Go for all Serie A and La Liga matches live. Go for GoTV Max.
Welcome back to News Extra. I am now joining Abolade Salami in Lagos Live for Business News. Abolade, it's over to you.
Thank you, Fatima. Good evening and welcome to the Business News segment. President Muhammadu Buhari, during his democracy broadcast, reassured Nigerians of his government resolve to accelerate sustainable and inclusive economic growth through an increase in infrastructural development. In order to maximize this, Mr. President says Nigeria will be provided accommodate private capital for infrastructure development through public partnership.
The GDP that you call government expenditure, and spending. It is necessary for government to spend on certain things. And in situations that we have, like in the case of Nigeria as an emerging economy, there is nothing wrong in government spending on some infrastructures. And that simply means when you have good roads reasonably, then you can go into a PPP relationship. When you have good schools, you can also go into PPP relationship. Then concepts like public-private partnership will work.
This move, Zaka Bala says, is key to achieving national growth. The economic policies of the federal government in the area of providing a conducive environment for businesses to thrive recently attracted the attention of the World Bank as it rates Nigeria amongst the top 20 improvers on the ease of doing business. This achievement, economic analysts attribute to the commitment of the government at improving the economy.
Nigeria in 2017 was ranked in 145th position by the World Bank on the ease of doing business, while in 2018 declined further to 146th position among 190 economies. Worried by this index, the federal government came up with a reform agenda being implemented at the national and subnational level to include Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP, 2017 to 2020, with the aim to deliver sustainable economic growth. This reform and government fiscal policies on growing the economy, as well as creating an enabling environment, has resulted in World Bank rating of the country among top 20 on the ease of doing business.
The ease of doing business that the government has introduced and consistently work at that we are moving forward. From their report is showing that Nigeria has done well. That's what we have gotten. And so that is quite heartening to everybody. Now that the economic management team put in place, we now leverage on that to even, chart a better course for us to move forward. And once the World Bank is on our side, applauding what we are doing, it means we are on track.
With the strong will exhibited by the federal government to place Nigeria's economy on the trajectory of growth, economic players expressed more confidence in the country's improvement on the ease of doing business.
Let's now switch gears to the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The market resumed trading on a bearish note, depreciating by 1.14% to close the All-Share Index below the 29,000 psychological line. Here are details of midweek trading.
Trading activities resumed the day after the 59th independence anniversary into the red territory, depreciating by 1.14% to close the all-share index below the 29,000 psychological line. Volume of shares traded stood at 175 million, valued at 2.56 billion naira, which changed hands in 3,539 deals, with a market capitalization of 13.2 trillion. On the activity chart, Forte Oil, Nascon and Flamil closed in the green, while on the flip side, Mobil, Total and Nigeria Breweries declined in figures. On sectoral performance, NSE industrial and insurance sectors appreciated in figures by 0.07% and 2.66%, while NSE banking, consumer goods and oil and gas depreciated in figures by 4.51%, 1.24% and 2.01%.
And that does it on business news. It's back to Fatima in Abuja for the continuation of the news. Good evening.
Very much, Abolade. Now, kudi, ego, owo, interest, kuza, and so on. There are as many names for money as there are tribes and tongues. The emergence of a legal tender globally is not accidental but a gradual process with narratives similar to the history of Nigeria. In this report, Michael Olale x-rays the evolution of the Naira from independence and efforts to strengthen it in the national market.
Few Nigerians have the currencies to chronicle the evolution of the Naira. Bayo Adebiyi is in the class of these few who can and are skipping these shillings, pennies and Naira notes to telling the Nigerian story to his children. He actually inherited them, but looking back, this is one of the traits to illustrate how much Nigeria has evolved as a country. Historically, during the colonial era, trade was basically by barter before different groups devised the use of cowries, menelas and bees in settling transactions. The first major currency issued in Nigeria was undertaken sequel to the Colonial Ordinance of 1818, which introduced the shillings and pence as the legal tender currency in British West Africa. In 1973, the Naira and Kobo were birthed following government's decision to change its currency from the merix to decimal.
At that point, the highest denomination of Naira was only 10 Naira. We had a half kobo, 1 kobo, 5 kobo, 10 kobo, and then we had a denomination of Naira as 10 Naira. It was only in 1977 that we introduced the 20 Naira note, which bore the image of late Mahatma Mohammed. So in effect, we've seen progressively the Nigerian currency denominations increase to now the high denomination of 1,000 Naira.
At inception in 1973, the value of the Naira was 2 Naira to a pound. Today, the exchange rate is over 400 Naira.
the value of currency is tied to, simple demand and supply. How much of your currency is demanded by your trading partners?
The slogan is outside here. Let's consume what we produce. Let's produce what we consume. So from food items to our wearing apparel to what we use in other areas of our national life, let's concentrate.
Although the country is expanding its economic policy to strengthen the Naira, there is no doubt that this legal tender has not only enabled the country to flex its muscle in international trade, but become a force to reckon with globally. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NT News.
Thank you very much, Michael, for that. And the federal government has cleared the air over monies it is expected to pay to the UK-based firm. Process and Industrial Development is ordered by the UK Commercial Court. The federal government's assurance was contained in a media briefing by the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed. Anthony Forson reports.
Of the federal government's delegation to the United Kingdom last week was to achieve 3 goals. 1. Change the narrative on the international stage with regards to the process and industrial development issue. 2. Apply for leave of the Commercial Court to appeal the judgment against Nigeria. And 3. Seek for a stay of execution of the United Kingdom's court judgment that recognized the $9.6 billion arbitration award to process and industrial development. With this mission accomplished, translating to Nigeria securing a leave to appeal, Nigeria is to pay PNID £250,000, representing their solicitors' advance costs. This is no victory for PNID, as explained by the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed.
In order to put the record straight and knock the bottom of the argument of PNID and its cohorts that we did not score a big victory in London last week. It was indeed a huge victory, and PNID has every reason to be worried that the $9.6 billion arbitration award to it has a good chance of being overturned. Please note, gentlemen, that Nigeria will be able to demand for a refund of the £250,000 payment to PNID where the government wins on the appeal.
On the $200 million payment as a condition for granting the stay of execution, Lai Mohammed said,
as a condition for the granting of the stay of execution, Nigeria has instructed its lawyers to seek the leave of the Court of Appeal to appeal against this payment.
Having brought to the front burner again, the minister explained how the contract was hatched through dubious means.
While the MOU for the project was signed in 2009 by PNID Nigeria Limited and the Nigerian government, represented by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, a trick clause dubiously inserted in the MOU was curiously activated that allowed British Virgin Island registered PNID to replace the original contractual party, PNID Nigeria Limited.
It is expected that Nigeria will pay the $200 million in 60 days from the day of pronouncement. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Now, any poverty reduction effort anytime, anywhere is big news. After all, who wants to be poor? Well, not me. So it feels good knowing that as part of efforts to reduce poverty through job creation, the federal government has launched a Skill for Job program in Taraba State. 700 vulnerable households in 3 local government areas are benefiting in the pilot phase of the training. Joseph Erskine reports that the National Directorate of Employment is coordinating the training.
The Skills for Job training program, presently going on in Taraba State and 15 other states of the Federation, is a component of the Youth Empowerment and Social Support Operation embarked upon by the federal government in collaboration with the World Bank. In Taraba State, the program is targeting about 5,000 trainable members of poor households, with 720 of them successfully captured and are taking part in the pilot phase of the training.
This program will help me for my pictures and my children and the youngest one and the people from Taraba State.
Gaskiya na ji daɗi sosai da wannan abun da aka kawo mana. Duk waɗansu matashinmu suna zama ne ba aiki.
The training is lasting for 9 months. It is involving 3 months of theoretical aspects and 6 months of internship at competent private sector. The state coordinator, National Directorate of Employment, Adebisi Aderemi, encouraged the beneficiaries to maximize the opportunity to become self-reliant and employers of labor in the future.
The federal government of Nigeria, through the World Bank support, will ensure prompt payment of monthly stipends to beneficiaries who will receive skills training of their choice at no cost to them.
NDE is partnering the Taraba State Polytechnic for the training.
Our teaming youths that are unemployed are given a space to be trained in various skills so that they cannot be idle. Because an idle hand, the proverb says, is the devil's workshop.
The 720 households for the pilot phase are selected from Adokola, Yoro, and Jalingo local government areas. In Jalingo, Joseph Sound Otsen, NTA News.
Sure, an interesting one there, Joseph. Now, from empowerment to skills acquisition, you know what they say, teach me to fish and I will eat for a lifetime. That simply means skills acquisition and entrepreneurial training with attitudinal change towards vocational education can unlock Nigeria's industrialization on potentials. Don't ask how. Adini Taiwo has a practical answer.
Moses Ojo was at a crossroad at some point in life. Though an NCE graduate, he had no job and was unsure of what to do until 2012 when he took up a 9-month vocational training in fashion designing. This move empowered him and changed his story.
I came here for ICT. So later, I joined fashion design. I have a fashion workshop now in Ibadan.
His story and others like Rebecca Adeshegun, another fashion designer, and John Ogunbolu, a tailor, is a pointer to the fact that a functional education that places premium on skills acquisition can take Nigerians to greater heights.
Technical education is seriously still lacking. Plumber, electrician, artisans are things that we still need very much in Nigeria, particularly a good finish.
It is not enough to have BSc mathematics or physics. After working for government, where do you go from there? Whereas if you have a small, thing, something that you have a passion for, if you train for that thing, you can set it up, and even at 60, 70, 80, you can still have somewhere to go.
To halt Nigeria's continued dependence on foreign products and services, especially in the area of fabrication and manufacturing, the society must look inward.
When you acquire a skill, and you can use your hands, sky's the limit. The way forward today is to have a vocation with which you can use your hands to produce something.
Skilled workers and artisans can perhaps embrace more training in their areas of specialization to make their vocation attractive for patronage. In Abeokuta, Adini Taiwo, NTA News.
From Abeokuta now to Nasarawa. The Doma community of Nasarawa State says it will never run out of patience following remarkable commitments under the next level agenda of the Buhari administration in turning around fortunes of dam infrastructure constructed in the area by the federal government more than 3 decades ago. Hamza Musa Makarfi, who has been following developments there, reports that government is on the verge of revamping irrigation and power generation components to promote economic development and employment opportunities.
The long wait by the people of Doma and their sleeping giant, conceived for agricultural revolution, successive administrations followed up and inaugurated the dam infrastructure primarily for irrigation and water supply.
Behind me, as far as the eyes can see, in fact, a distance
of more than 5 kilometers of Doma Dam for the prosperity of Nigeria. The water supply component did not last long, while 2,000 hectares set aside for irrigation lie unutilized due to uncompleted deployment of pipes and sprinklers. However, for Usman Doma and many farmers like him, the rainy season gives them the opportunity to cultivate assorted crops while expecting government to revive and implement original plans. Government, under the new focus of revitalizing agriculture, is working to rekindle hope among stakeholders.
Private interests. As I'm speaking with you, 6 private enterprises have showed interest and 3 are already on site. With their effort and our passion to have it done, we are confident that the scheme will begin to function not too long ago.
There is another prospect on the horizon of power generation between the government and a donor-related agency that will boost storage and local processing outlets in the area. But there is the big one approved by the Federal Executive Council of 1 megawatt, opting for public-private partnership to drive the initiative. The project is estimated to cost $3.8 million.
Institute of Freshwater Fishery, based in Ibadan, came here.
Another low-hanging fruit is the promotion of aquaculture in the 35 million cubic liters of water at the dam. As expectations are high, it will strengthen revenue generation and reduce capital plight to satisfy the demand for fish in Nigeria. From Doma, Hamza Musa Makalpi, NTA News.
National Human Rights Commission advocates inclusion of older persons into National Health Insurance Scheme. Are you asking me how or why? Well, let's find out when News Extra returns.
Sending me this type of letter. So, this type of celebration is going to happen in Lojaville. This is great. NTA and the village headmaster family are going to celebrate 50 years. Wait, you mean people have been watching village headmaster?
They have killed me, Kabesi. They have killed me, Panapati. Oh, they have killed me. Those big people in Lagos, import license, they have killed me, Kabesi.
Come October 8, 10, and 11. I, Tisha Fadele of Oja Community School, will be there live and direct. I will laugh, dance, and even dance Asonto and Shaku Shaku. And when Sonny Ade plays, I will dance Showambe. It's going to be a great celebration in Oja Village.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Great to have you back. National Human Rights Commission has advocated the inclusion of Older Persons International Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS programs to enable them benefit from the Universal Health Coverage Initiative. This was in a forum to mark the International Day for Older Persons. Omenka Amarachuku reports.
The aged, especially in most African countries, oftentimes suffered abuse and negligence with little or no attention paid to their needs and welfare. National Human Rights Commission is using the 2019 International Day of Older Persons to advocate inclusiveness for the aged. Leveraging on the theme, The Journey to Age Equality, the Commission is also focusing attention on the needs of the old and how best to attend to them.
Today, NHRC wishes to
reiterate its commitment to promoting and protecting the rights of older persons in Nigeria, and it is prepared to set a standard for Africa.
The first step towards age equality is for us to recognize the fundamental human right of every human being. It's for us to have respect for all the frameworks. Even healthy aging, the decade of healthy aging 2030, anything you pick now talks about the human rights standard.
Olusoji Soba, an older person's rights advocate, puts in prospective needed action plan to change the narrative in the country.
In other countries, advanced countries, let me say, when has a card that entitles him to rebate, when he goes to pharmacy, he doesn't pay the 100% face value of the drugs. He pays maybe about 50% or thereabout.
National Human Rights Commission also called for the support from government to achieve the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. In Abuja, Umenka Marachuku, NTA News.
This is sure good news for older persons. Now, farmers from across the country will not have to suffer losses as a result of shortage in rainfall, which is one of the consequences of global warming. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that Nigerian scientists have developed some techniques to deal with the challenge. Abdullahi, tell us about it.
From Maraga in Makarpi to Jampalam in Ikara local government areas of Kaduna State, hundreds of farmers have tried the techniques. Idi Shitu is one of them. He is already counting days to a bomber harvest of hybrid sorghum he planted alongside a local variety which is still at budding stage.
This maize farm was planted before mine.
What makes Shitu and hundreds of other farmers shoulders high whenever they take a walk to their farms is no rocket science, but simple techniques that traps moisture in the farm to keep the life cycle of plants intact, even when the rains ceased abruptly. In the furrow mulching in double planting technique, the farmer uses waste materials from early harvest to protect the ridges from the scorching sun so as to conserve moisture in the farm. While this technique uses waste material from harvested crops to conserve moisture, this one here, ridges are created intermittently in the farm to trap water so that moisture can stay there for a very long time.
This will help to reduce evaporation. It will also help to conserve moisture in the soil, which will enable the grain filling stage, the sorghum grain filling stage, such that you'll be able to get good seed head per panicle when the harvesting time is done.
And this variety is an improvement from some of the varieties that we have and the farmers that farmers are growing for tolerance to certain basic biotic stresses like striga.
The techniques have been tested and proven to be one of the most effective means of mitigating the consequences of global warming. Sandezwat has seen the techniques being implemented in different parts of the world.
As you know, we have climate change. The farmers are suffering from shortage of rain.
The proponents of these farming techniques are not alone in passing its messages as women farmers lend a helping hand. And their job is made easier as the farmers of the future showed keen interest. But for Shitu and other hundreds of farmers who have adopted the techniques, the future is now. In Kaduna, Abdullah Mohammed, NTA News.
As the world celebrates the 150th anniversary of the birth of the late father of India's independence, Mahatma Gandhi, Indians are also celebrating a landmark status in his honor. Open defecation-free status. Now, that's not good news for Nigeria and Nigerians. Are you wondering why? It's over to correspondent Musbah Wahab to tell us about this unavoidable tale and the lessons to learn from the Indian experience.
The name Mahatma Gandhi means so much to the Indians. He is hope that brought the end of colonization and paved way for the country's industrialization. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, popularly known as Mahatma Gandhi, lived a life of sacrifice to ensure the emancipation of the less trodden. He demonstrated to the world that it is possible to practice non-violence resistance in fighting injustice. The politics of character, ideology are hallmarks of Mahatma Gandhi, which are practiced globally. To this end, a commemorative stamp was dedicated in his honor and was presented to the public as a living reminder of permanent historical records. The Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Abhay Thakur, says there are many lessons to be learned for national development in what Mahatma Gandhi stood for.
What he believed in was self-sufficiency and small and medium enterprises. So you see on this, in this room, the charkha, the spinning wheel, with which a human being or a very poor man can weave himself, can produce cloth from himself and free himself from the oppression of colonialism. So this charkha is very symbolic of Mahatma Gandhi.
The gathering here today is a sure attestation to what the Indians and the world at large would say a service to humanity by a man that sacrificed all that he has to ensure the liberation of his people. Now, the release of this stamp tells us more about the man Mahatma Gandhi.
One of the world's icons and advocate of freedom, of non-violence, and a great apostle of peace. It is interesting to note that celebrating this world icon of Indian extraction in the person of Mahatma Gandhi at this time that the world is filled with strife, war, and violence is not a misplaced priority at all. His life and times should actually guide us on how we relate with one another, on how we treat each other for peace to reign on earth.
First takeaway from this event is Mahatma Gandhi's message of peace. There is no better time in the world that the message of peace is needed because of all the turbulence and the violence that is going on around the world. So his message of peace, I think, is the number one takeaway from this event.
The icon, many say, was a lover of peace and a front runner for Indians' independence. He died January 30th, 1948 in Delhi. It is widely held that the giant strides of Gandhi earned him many titles such as the Great Soul, the father of the Indian nation, the pioneer of non-violent struggle. Beyond the event, NIPOS envisaged the sale of more than 200 postal stamps. In Abuja, Patricia A. Samiluba, NTA News.
Thank you, Patricia. And that was Patricia Samiluba's story on the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. We celebrate him. And now let's go to Musbah Wahab's report, and he's going to tell us about the unavoidable tale and lessons learned from India.
Practice like this constitutes the about 47 million people defiling the environment and ranks the country second place in open defecation hitherto. The number was higher in India, with about 600 million people, 40% of the population in the practice. But then, it all started with a resolution and then a revolution in 2014 to implement what late Mahatma Gandhi dreamt of for India, good sanitation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took the lead and the citizens took heed. In a 5-year national sanitation project, India has spent over $20 billion and over 90 million toilets constructed across the country. It's paid off for Indians as they celebrate Open Defecation Free ODF nationwide this Wednesday. And it is official, Nigeria is the #1 in open defecation in the world.
Like I always say, this is one badge of honor that Nigeria doesn't want to have as #1 open defecation practicing country in the world. But it's inevitable. There's nothing we can do about it other than to try to get out of it as quickly as possible.
Federal Ministry of Water Resources says it is intensifying efforts in this regard with the launch of the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilets campaign, while also advocating that the state government follow suit.
If India was able to take out 550 million people out of this practice within 5 years, there is no reason why we should not be able to move out 47 million people from open defecation. I look forward to serious commitment on the part of state governments, because if they don't key into this program, then the journey has not started. They are the ones living with the people. These things are happening in the states.
Between 2015 and now, 13 local government areas have become ODF, leaving the government with the task of cleaning up the mess in the other 761 LGAs to meet the 2025 targets. In Abuja, Musbao and Wahab, NT News.
Now to a sad one. Unknown gunmen have shot and killed the chairman, Tabital Polaku John Ijam, a body of Fulani group under the umbrella of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association in Adamawa State. Abdul Bali and his guest, Simon Asha, reports that the ugly incident occurred at the residence of the deceased at the outskirts of Yola, the state capital.
It was a dark night for the residents of Lakarebole, who woke up early this morning to hear the news of a sudden death of one of their own, Alhaji Abdul Ali, the chairman, Tabital Polaku John Ijam, in Adamawa State. This is the reception room where Abdul Ali normally stays to rest after coming back home from work. And as you can see, the door is rattled with bullets, where he was subsequently killed in this same room by unknown gunmen.
We were informed that Abdul Ali was murdered in his own house around 8 o'clock in the night.
Alhaji Abdul Ali, who happened to be the chairman, Tabital Polaku John Ijam, was found lying in a pool of blood there, and then himself and one other and two others were rushed to Federal Medical Center, where himself and one other were confirmed dead.
His death, no doubt, has thrown his family into mourning and grief. His remains and that of his visitor has since been buried in accordance with Islamic injunction. In Yola, Simon Asher, NTA News.
When News Extra returns from the break, we bring you sports and weather.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
86,400 seconds in a day, and just one like this. The golden moment when it all comes together. The people, the style, the flavor. I'll drink to that. New Guinness Gold Beer. Savor the flavor.
Welcome back. It was a 7-goal thriller between the defending champions Liverpool as they defeated Salzburg 4-3